Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to talk about a very important topic, which is constructors in Java. So this is very important as far as Selenium WebDriver is concerned, and this is also very important for interview as well. So please concentrate more on this, guys. Okay, constructor is very important. So this is the agenda for today. So we'll talk about what is constructor. So what are the basic rules to create the constructors? Okay, and we'll talk about what are the different types of constructors, and we'll see constructor overloading, and at last we'll see what is the difference between constructor and method. So I have noted down a few points, few important points, or you can say properties, or you can say definition of constructors. Okay, so it is called constructor because it constructs the value at the time of object creation. Okay, we'll see with the help of an example. And a block of code similar to method. So constructor has a block of code which is similar to method, and it is called when an object of class is created. So I'll show you how it is called. Okay, and at the time of calling constructor, memory for the object is allocated in memory, and it is used to initialize the object. Okay, and Java compiler created the default constructor if your class doesn't have any constructor. Okay, so let's look at the example with the help of an example. Okay, so here I'll create one project. Constructor project. Okay, and inside this src folder, let me create one another package, constructor demo, or let's give name package only. Okay, inside this, let me create one class, constructor demo, and select public static void main. So let's look at the next slide. So in the next slide, rules are given, some rules. So constructor name must be same as its class name. Okay, so this is my class name. So if you write like this, okay, then it becomes constructor. So this is my constructor. It has the same name as class name. Okay, and must have no return type. Okay, so let's write some return type, int constructor, and here let me give some return, let me return some values. Okay, so here it will give some suggestions, right? Change to constructor, since it has same name as class name, so we have to change this to constructor. We have to delete this. So this is my constructor. Okay, a Java constructor cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. So let's write abstract here. So it will give an error. Remove invalid modifiers. So it doesn't take those modifiers. Okay. So let me write some body inside this. I mean some steps inside this method body or constructor body. I should say constructor, right? So because this is constructor. So this is constructor. Constructor. Okay. So my constructor is created. Now let's call this constructor. How to call this constructor? We have seen in previous slide. Like it is called when an object of class is created. So let's create the object of this class. So how to create? Using new keyword. So I'll create like this. So when you write this line, when you write like this, new constructor demo or class name. Okay, so that means I mean we have seen previous video, right, how to create the object. So how to create? Using new keyword. So object is created for this class, right? So explicitly no need to call this constructor, automatically it will be called when the object is created. The left part which we have given right, like the class name and the object name is equal to like that. So that is just for reference purpose, like we are storing this object to some reference variable. So that is, I'm just showing how to create the object and how we can call the constructor. So let me just run this program. Yeah, so this is constructor, so this is called constructor is called, right? So let me just store this in some variable, some reference variable of this class. Okay, so we can do like this, because going forward we may have some more methods in this class, so we can call using this reference variable. So whenever we when we write this line of code, then object will be created and object will be stored in memory. Okay, so at the time of calling constructor, memory for this object, memory for the object is allocated in memory. Okay, it is used to initialize the object. So since this is my constructor, so it is used to initialize the object. Okay, initialize means giving the values uh, to the object. Now let's talk about uh, types of constructors. Okay, so there we'll discuss what is this default constructor. Anyways, this is default constructor, it's only because it doesn't have any parameter. Okay, so now let's talk about default constructor. Yeah, so there are two types of constructors. One is default constructor and another one is parameterized constructor. So let's first look at the default constructor. Now let me create another class. I'll give name default constructor, and I'll select public static void main. Okay, here I'll give some variable. I'll declare some variable. Employee name, let's take sorry, this should be a string and int employee id. Okay, suppose we have two parameters, two variables. Now let me create one method, public void uh, display. Now let me print those two things. Okay, employee name, and here I'll print this one. So here I don't have any constructor. Okay, here I have one method, display method, but I have not created any constructor over here. So JVM, the Java compiler will create the constructor by default. So now let me create the object of this class. Okay, now using this reference variable, let's call that display method. So guys, we have already discussed about the instance variable. No need to declare the instance variable because it takes default value 0 or null. So let's call this method display method, and since we don't have any constructor, so default constructor will be called. Okay, so if you see null and 0, so since we are not providing any values, since we are calling the default constructor only, so it provides the default values. What are the default values? Null and 0, right? So it will provide to this the default constructor. From there the value will be picked. Okay, and we are calling using this object reference to this method. So this will the default values will be given to employee name and employee id. So that's how it will print null and 0. So this is default constructor. Okay, now let's look at the parameterized constructor. Okay, let me create another class, parameterized constructor. Okay, let's take the same these two variable and this display method. Now here I'll create a parameterized constructor. Okay, so I'll create one constructor, class name. So here I'll provide the values. Okay, string name, new name, and what is that, id, that is int new id. Okay, and we'll store those values in our variable. Okay, now let me call this method, sorry, let me create the object of this class. Obj is equal to new here. So since here we have a parameterized constructor, right, so it will take two values. So here we have created the what do you call, parameterized constructor with two values. So while creating the object itself we have to provide two values here. So let me provide two values here. Name is James, and here I'll provide employee ID is emp123. What happened, sorry, this is integer only, 45. Okay, now let's call the method, display method. Okay, now let me run this program. So here we go, gems and 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so this is how we can use parameterized constructor to pass the values. So this is how we can pass the values. If you want more values, so we can do like this. You can provide another object reference, and there we can call one more time dot display like this. Two times it will give. Okay, we can provide some other values as well, like Peter and 54321. Yeah, here we go. First is James 1 2 3 4 5. Second one is Peter 54321. Okay, so this is how we can work with parameterized constructor. What is next? Constructor overloading. So having more than one constructor with different parameter lists, right? So we have seen in method overloading, like we can have different methods with the different parameters, right, not the same parameters. So we'll create the same in constructor as well. So let's create another example, overloading constructor, and I'll select public static void main. Let's take the same example. With the help of same example, we'll create overloading constructor. So I have employee name and employee ID. Let's take another variable age as well. Okay. Now let me create we have to give this as this constructor name, right? Yeah, so this is fine, and this is one constructor. Now let's uh, have another constructor, overloading constructor. So I'll give one more parameter here, int new age. Okay, so what I have done, I have created class, one more class, overloading constructor, where I have three parameters, three variables: employee name, employee ID, and age. And here I have created one constructor with two parameters, right? Employee name and ID. And similarly I have another constructor with three parameters. So this is the same name, right? This constructor name, but parameters, or you can say signature, should be different. The number of parameters should be different. Okay, or data types should be different. So here I have taken three parameters. Okay, now let me give age as well here, and it should be new age. Okay, now let's call those constructors. So I'll create the object of this class, obj is equal to new constructor name. So here we go. So we have to provide the add arguments to match overloading constructor, this constructor, either this one or this one. So let's take the first one. So we'll provide here name, employee 1, or let's provide some name, James, and what is ID, 1 2 3 4 5. Let's call copy and paste it over here, this time object 1, and here I'll provide three values. So age is 45. Okay, so guys, we are using here the same name. Okay, but the purpose is different, right? So this constructor uh, only prints employee name and employee ID. Okay, but this has age as well, another parameter. Okay, now let me create one display method. Okay, void display, and inside this display we'll create we'll call we'll print all those uh, variables. Employee name, ID, and age. Okay, now let's first call with using obj dot display. I'm calling this display method using first constructor. So let's see. Here we go. So the name is, employee name is James, employee ID is this one, age, it is showing 0. Why? Because this constructor has only two parameters. Okay, it doesn't have third parameter. So that's why the default will be value will be provided by constructor. Okay, so that is why it is showing 0. Now let's call using object 1. This time it should print three values, James, 1 2 3 4 5 and 45. Okay, so this is how we can deal with constructor with overloading concept. Okay, now what is next, what is the difference between constructor and method? Okay, so it is used to initialize the state of an object. Constructor is used to initialize the state of an object. So this is how we initialize the object, right? where we are initializing the object of any class, and it is used to expose the behavior of an object. The method basically tells the properties, right? Expose the behavior of the uh, a particular what you can say objects, particular object. And a constructor must not have a return type. So we have seen in previous example, like constructor doesn't have a return type. A method must have a return type. We have seen in the method tutorial as well that method has return needs, or we must provide a return type for method. It is invoked implicitly. Okay, it is automatically called, but to call method, uh, we need to have a reference variable of the object, and through that we can call the method. In this case we have called this method, right? Display method. Here we have display method. So we have here the reference of an object. So using this reference variable we have called this method. The Java compiler provides a default constructor if you don't have any constructor in a class. Okay, so it provides, we have seen in the first program that sorry, in the second one we don't have in that program don't have any, what you can say, constructor. So compiler will provide the constructor by default in that case. Okay, whereas in method, the method is not provided by the compiler in any case. Okay, either should be it should be built-in methods, or what you can say, user defined methods. Okay, the constructor name must be same as its class name. Okay, and here in Java, not same as its class name. Okay, it could be a name, class name with the another class. Okay, so in the next video we'll talk about static keyword, which is also very important topic. So thank you guys for watching this video. Bye bye.